The economy and Brexit, the two are entirely connected. We have a fantastic, thriving economy here in West Berkshire with 0.8% unemployment, one of the lowest unemployment levels anywhere in the country, anywhere in Europe. And my determination is that we keep this a thriving, growing area, the best place to start and grow a business, the best place to employ people, good skills, and companies that want to come here from all over the world. And obviously hanging over that is making sure that we get the best Brexit deal that ensures that companies like X-Track in Thatcham can still export its high-performance gearboxes competitively to France, Germany and Italy, that Edwards Life Sciences in London Road in Newbury can still export its world-beating heart valves all around the world, and that a company like Benyon in Hambridge Lane can still employ the people it needs in this service sector that it thrives in. So making sure that we have an economy that continues to grow and that is secure for the businesses and the people who work for them. The best Brexit deal will ensure that companies like the ones that I've mentioned earlier will still be able to compete in Europe, in the marketplace that they are operating in, and will still be able to employ the people they need to here. It means that we need to get a good trade deal, and that we are ensuring that companies that have invested in West Berkshire that are not even part of from Europe, such as Stryker, such as National Instruments, both American companies that have chosen to base themselves here in West Berkshire, are still going to see this as the place to go. And that means that this can be a base for their businesses both in the UK and in Europe. And it's not all about trade, it's about the environment as well. I'm absolutely passionate that we should be transposing all the protections that we have under the European systems to clean up our rivers, our beaches, clean up our air quality, that we transpose those into UK law and we make them continue to keep our environment clean or cleaner as we move forward into a post-Brexit world. I think my party locally has done amazingly well to protect frontline services in extremely difficult funding circumstances. And working with West Berkshire Council, I have made the case to ministers, and we got an extra 1.3 million last year and this year to help with the problem we have between the system we have at the moment and what we will have in the future, which is local government funded through business rates. And so I'm quite convinced things will improve. I'm working extremely hard to do it. But what we need to make sure that happens is a continuing buoyant economy and not the kind of disaster that is being hung over the British economy by some of the policies that are being promoted by Labour. So I really do think this is an important time to make sure that we are getting the economic growth we need, and as an MP I will be absolutely tireless and totally unpartisan in the criticisms of what I think the Conservative government is getting wrong. I will tell them. But when we have local authority properly funded by business rates, which is going to happen, then we will see a much better ability of West Berkshire Council to fund all the services that we really mind about. And I'm going to push for that to happen very soon. We have one of the best healthcare systems anywhere in the world. People from other countries come here and they are in awe of a system that offers care free at the point of delivery, whether it is at West Berkshire Community Hospital, your local GP, or one of the 4 district general hospitals that serve this area. It is fantastic. More money is going into it than has ever gone into it before. And since my party came into government in 2010, there are now 11,200 more doctors, there are 13,000 more nurses, there are 51,000 more nurses in training at the moment. But we still need improvements, and the challenge is how to do this in an aging society. In just 10 years' time, there will be an extra 2 million more people living in this country over the age of 75. And the whole reform that we're trying to bring in to improve social care and our NHS will involve, yes, more money, more taxpayers' money, but it will also require a government that is determined to make sure that we have good quality care and that we have a continuing understanding that the NHS is the jewel in the crown of our public services, that we're passionate about seeing it succeed and be properly funded. Well, I've been working really hard on this, both locally and nationally, and there are fantastic organisations locally that, with the addition of the statutory services provided by West Berkshire Council, are doing a lot to reduce and take people off the streets, reduce homelessness and take people off the streets, but more can be done. The number of rough sleepers has actually come down. The average was about 35 a night, it's now about half that. And there is a determination that that should be zero, not just here, but in my party's manifesto, a complete commitment to ending homelessness. And that sounds a really ridiculous ambition, but it's absolutely possible. And I've been involved in Parliament in producing a policy called Housing First with the Centre for Social Justice, which has now found itself front and centre of the Conservative Party manifesto. And it is based on the understanding that somebody who has a house, who has somewhere to live, all the other problems that took them onto the streets or into homelessness can be dealt with, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's alcohol abuse, whether it's relationship issues. And getting them that accommodation is really important. And so Housing First is a policy that sets out how that can be achieved. And ending homelessness by the middle of the next decade is something that we as a party absolutely aspire to. And locally, I'm determined to deliver way before that. We can do it. All the agencies, all the charities, all the statutory organisations work together. And it's one of my absolute commitments to achieve this in the coming years. No, they shouldn't. The proposal in the Conservative Party manifesto is for more money for education. And so if a child on pupil premium or any child of a family that is on low income, they will still be able to get a free school meal. Every child will be able to get access to a breakfast club, which there's a lot of research which shows that this is the best way of enhancing the whole school day, as children arrive at school having got some good quality food inside them. And so they will still be able to get a free school lunch if they're on a pupil premium or a child that needs it. But what we want to see is a system which has school budgets continuing to rise, and the commitment for £4 billion more on education is clearly in our manifesto, and that should, any removal of any benefit should not affect those from families with low incomes, and that is a clear commitment. So I think school meals have improved in recent years. The benefit of them is absolutely known and understood, and certainly should be available for all children that are from low income families. Well, I've always been a supporter of our independent nuclear deterrent. It's not just because it's the largest employer in my constituency at Aldermaston, but it is part of what has kept this country safe over many decades. And none of us can look 30, 40, 50 years ahead and know what threats we're going to face as a country. And deterrents work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Their existence is keeping us safe. And so the replacement of Trident, we're making decisions now about what is going to be available to keep us safe in the form of a deterrent like that, is a decision we have to take. It's not something you can suddenly acquire when the world order changes or when the threat suddenly manifests itself. And so I'm firmly of the belief that part of our defence structure should be independent nuclear deterrent, and I think Trident is the best way to deliver that. Well, I was always opposed to the ban. I don't think it's the issue that worries most of my constituents most of the time. I certainly don't want another 600 hours of parliamentary time wasted on this issue. But if it came before Parliament in a free vote, I would vote to repeal the bill. I think it hasn't benefited wildlife at all. In fact, more foxes have probably died more unpleasantly as a result of the hunting ban than because it was in place. So I would vote to repeal it, but I do not see this as a priority for this or any government of any party. We currently have 163 grammar schools in this country, and we have 3,000 secondary schools, state secondary schools. And so my concern is on the 3,000 schools. I don't have grammar schools in my constituency, and it's not an issue. I don't have people knocking my door down saying they want one. What the government has said as part of a very comprehensive white paper is that they would look favourably at ending the prevention of new grammar schools as part of a mix of educational provision, which is fine, and selective education in its various forms can have benefits. But I want to make sure that we are focusing on the 3,000 schools rather than the 163, and that we are continuing to see standards rise. And I'm really proud that in the last 7 years since my party came into government, the number of children who are in good or outstanding schools has increased by 1.8 million. That's 1.8 million more children having a better life chance. That's what I really want to concentrate on. I wouldn't. It brings in about £4.7 billion a year in tax. That's a lot of doctors, nurses and policemen. But it's got to be fair. And it is a tax that is levied at the most distressing time in any family's life. And I'm a firm believer that people should be encouraged to work hard and save hard, and then to be able to hand on as much of that as possible to future generations. So I would keep inheritance tax, but I would really try and encourage people on medium and lower incomes in particular to save as much as they can, in the full knowledge that they can hand it on. There are improvements I'd like to see right across the tax regime, but I'm proud that we as a party in government have managed to make sure those with the broadest shoulders have paid the most tax, and we've taken 4 million people out of paying tax altogether by raising the threshold on income tax. And I think that is a mood and a policy that you'll see continue in a future Conservative government.